Yep. So definitely going without the soundboard, but still going to be a great show. Actually, I have a lot of really cool topics. No thanks to both of you who never responded to my text
Hey,
yesterday.
and
I was busy.
I didn't have any ideas.
Well, actually, Ethan, you did give me a couple ideas last week, so I
Mm.
wrote those down.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, what could you have been doing that was more important than supporting the show?
Um, what if I was supporting the show? What if I was on customer service with this print yesterday?
All day yesterday too?
No.
Oh.
He's
You're
just
just
making
trying to
up a
save
random
yourself.
hypothetical.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I get it. Matt, what are you drinking? Let's do our intros. Let's go through our beers.
Let me finish this. Ooh, there we go.
It looks fancy as shit.
It is a lambic from Belgium.
How do you say it?
Lambic. The brewery is actually called Tilquin or Tilkin. Tilquin.
Is that a type of beer?
The lambic. Yeah, it's a type of beer.
Ah.
It's a wild or an open fermented beer from Belgium. So they brew it up and essentially just let bacteria from the air settle down into it and start fermenting. There's yeast everywhere. And Tilquin's a really, really well-known brewery in Belgium. I'd say, not maybe not like the super, super famous ones, but very, very, still very, very good, very, very well regarded, very sought after. And this one was a new one I'd never seen. It has it's a Belgian lambic with Mirabelle plums, which sounds really good. It's a nice golden color. So, but yeah, it's sour, it's funky. It's Bob and my Bob's Burgers glasses.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's so cool. Where'd you get it from?
Just a place down the street.
Oh,
Would have taken Ethan if he had come, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry I got surgery. I'm so sorry. Wait, that just made me think of it's in Billy Madison, right? Where Adam Sandler is having the vision of the penguin and the girl cheating or whatever, and he's like, "I'm so sorry to interrupt." That's just what that made me think of.
holy shit! An Adam Sandler reference from the biggest hater of all time.
I like
Mr.
Adam
Ethan
Sandler.
Ritz.
I like Adam
Okay.
Sandler just fine. Yeah, a lot of people hate on him.
Just not what I'm talking about.
Well, you guys have just the reason I give you shit is because you're not your entire family, but you and your two brothers for your entire lifetimes have communicated in Adam Sandler movie references and quotes. That's like how you guys fucking communicate. And so that used to drive me crazy. So that's why I would give you shit.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well then.
Wow. So are you back on you drinking beer this week because you already got your surgery, or what's the deal?
I'm still doing water tonight just in case I end up the pain's not too bad right now, but if the pain gets bad later, then if I want like a heavy a stronger pain med, then I don't want to have any alcohol.
Well, so if you're not drinking, what are you eating?
Having some homemade chicken soup. Actually, I was going to say this is probably a ASMR's wet dream. You can listen to me slurp my soup for the next 20 minutes.
Who's it homemade by?
By Yulia. I'm not supposed to mention her name. Shit. Edit that out. Will you edit that out? The person that I went out with last weekend, who I've been seeing, she made the soup.
Very nice. Very nice.
Is ASMR the right thing? Is ASMR the right abbreviation?
Those letters are right.
Okay.
Maybe not in that order. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Anyways,
I'll
be slurping it up. So.
What do you got, Colin? What's in your glass?
I'll show you the glass in a second. All stretched out. This is Ass Clown right up the street from my house here.
Still love that name.
So good.
Yeah.
And then I'm drinking out of my first Father's Day baseball bat mug.
You and Greg.
Yeah.
With your baseball bat mug.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's very cool. Yeah, very nice. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So it's very good. It's a sour 9.0. So I'll be like Matt tonight.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm on an empty stomach, but this is only 7%. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh boy. All right, boys. You want me to rock us into this awesome conversation that we're going to have?
Uh-huh.
And everyone who's listening to this, you already know, but this episode is coming out a day before Thanksgiving. We normally release episodes on Thursdays, but we said we like to give the people what they want. This is the show where the segments are made up and the content doesn't matter. We've been merging beer, sports, and politics, or nonsense.
Politics.
Nonsense. Yeah.
What?
It's
What?
the same thing. Yeah. Same
a
thing
little
since
bit.
2021.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll figure it all out.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's like the hallmark to the intro. Like,
Is that
just
Colin
a
always
little
fucks it
different
up?
every time.
Yeah. I actually like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I'm really trying to get it. Like,
Well, that's what makes it better, in my opinion. So
oh man, I should just write it down, but I'm too lazy.
Don't.
Well, I thought we could start. Matt, you had asked a mailbag question last week that we never got to because we had a great conversation with Gabrielle Starr, and then we did a little bit. We did a mailbag, but we got to a couple other things at the end.
I just remembered what the question was.
I've got it for you. So you said, Colin, as a resident of the Carolinas, tomato, mustard, or vinegar-based barbecue sauce?
It's a big thing down there, right? Coastal North and South, right? You know?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about it. It's hard to choose. Like, I don't want to pop out of the question, but like all of it is good. I would eat it at any point. I guess if I had to choose one.
So for those of you who are uninitiated, the vinegar is literally like, it's just liquid. It's not a sauce. It's just liquid with spices floating in it. So you literally just kind of soak your meat. The vinegar, or excuse me, the mustard is more, I mean, it's like a brownish yellowish. It's a mustard base, but and then the tomato base in North Carolina, that's kind of more normal. I mean, normal, but they have, I'm sure they have their own twist on it. Some of it, but yeah, you know, it's like a big source of contention down there. Like, what sauce you throw your weight behind?
Yeah, I think I would, if I had to choose one of those three, I would pick mustard, only because like I don't know that I could do barbecue, that type of barbecue, like homemade. Whereas like I could do barbecue, I could probably even do vinegar and like it would taste decently. But the mustard barbecue, unless you like just buy it, but like, you know, that's not really the same. So that's what I'll go with. I'll go somewhere, get some mustard barbecue and crush it.
Well, it was a trick question. Because if you're worried about what sauce the place has, then obviously they're screwing up the meat. So you want to make sure you go where the meat's right. The best barbecue doesn't require sauce at all.
That's true.
Pearl of wisdom right there.
Wow.
So wise.
I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that segment and I'm going to add it to the new soundboard that we're going to have in the future.
But I mean, in all honesty, they're all delicious. And like, I didn't really like mustard. I still really don't like mustard, but mustard-based barbecue sauce has gotten me to eat more mustard things. I probably like the vinegar the most, but it's the least versatile. Unless you got like a pile of pork or something, you just can like soak through everything. You know, you can't really put on a sandwich unless you want a soggy bun. And I mean, who doesn't like that tomato ketchup-y, delicious thick barbecue sauce that everywhere else uses? So
yeah,
but
yeah, the mustard, it's not like yellow mustard.
No, it's spiced up. It's not just mustard, but
yeah, it's good stuff. But that was a great question, and I think it will go into, let's talk about the other fun thing that Ethan had brought up last time. So you'll be listening to this today is Turkey Day, Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving, whatever you want to call it. And Ethan wanted to talk about Thanksgiving favorite foods.
Yeah.
If I had my soundboard, I would have played some music for you.
Ooh. I just think that Thanksgiving is like, so you guys know that I am not somebody who gives a shit about tradition or ceremony. And in fact, I think that both of those things are actively harmful. I know, right? It's a shock.
Wow.
But Thanksgiving, I actually do really enjoy. I love being around family and just, you know, being consciously thankful and grateful for things. And of course, I love the meal. I just think it's delicious. And so Thanksgiving is a holiday that I actually do enjoy, despite its dubious history, which we're not going to get into today.
Why not?
but because I don't feel like it. You're welcome to talk about it. I don't feel like it. I'm relaxing. I'm not gonna fucking do it. No.
I'm gonna fire him up later. Don't worry, Matt.
So I guess so for me it's hard. I mean, I don't even know that I have one favorite food, but I just think it's fun to talk about like the Thanksgiving meal. For me, probably like stuffing and mashed potatoes, all like just covered in gravy, because you just don't do that often, or at least I never did. My family never did growing up. That was like a couple times a year, and Thanksgiving being like the one guarantee. And I just love that. And then pumpkin pie and apple pie, as dessert options are just, the best. So that's it.
You got to go, Colin, because I've got some controversial opinions. So I'll stay to the end.
I mean, I don't love Thanksgiving food. I mean, it's fine. And like, all right, you just eat it like one day. I just don't eat any of those other foods like any other day of the year. I never even eat turkey except for on Thanksgiving. I mean, it's all fine. Like you said, Ethan, I usually just put it into a garbage plate that's a upstate New York shout out there, and just throw as much gravy on it. And then, pumpkin pie, apple pie, like it's good. I don't really have a favorite. I like Christmas better because like on the Italian side, we used to do like homemade pasta a lot, homemade pizzas,
Oh, that's
things,
pretty cool.
Things like that. So that's what I look forward to.
Nice.
So I don't like gravy.
Oh my God.
Wow. I don't like gravy.
He's off the show. Actually, you know what? I feel like this came up recently, didn't it?
I know it did. And I was wondering if you guys would remember or not.
Yeah, I remembered just now. That's impressive.
And so I just, like it's the leftover goop. It's the innards and the organs, which is, I guess it's like all meat.
It's the same thing with stuffing too, right? Like stuffing is part of
stuffing you just put.
They just put like bread and herbs and shit.
Yeah,
and then you just stuff it into the actual bird. Yeah,
breadcrumbs, seasonings, celery, onion.
But Matt,
my mom puts breakfast sausage in there. Oh, it's so good. Oh, but
we found Matt's favorite.
It's stuffing. Well, no, actually, again, I'm gonna pull a Joe Possing. I'm gonna go outside the rules and say my favorite Thanksgiving dish is the turkey noodle soup that my mom makes the day after Thanksgiving with the carcass from the leftover turkey.
That sounds good.
I mean, if you guys, she actually takes it and you boil it down, you like cook it down.
Okay, but do you understand that's the same thing that gravy is made of? You're using the body parts to make something flavorful.
It's not the sludge. it's broth.
You're using but you're using the carcass.
But it's
using carcass carcass
sludge.
Juice. You're using carcass juices.
It's sludge.
Oh my God.
Sludge.
So for you, so maybe
flour.
So maybe it's more about the texture for you than with gravy.
Well, and there's no giblets in it. I guess the one time, so the giblets are, right?
Yeah, they're like the fucking.
It's the heart, the liver, and the gizzard.
Yummy.
And the neck.
Ugh,
and
delicious.
Yeah. Oh. So that's the one time, the worst experience I had. One time I was eating like reheated turkey noodle soup that my mom like packed up for me because she's the best, and like made little soup containers and sent it back home with me. And I thought I had like a dark piece of turkey, and I just scooped it up and right in the mouth, and the texture was wrong immediately. It wasn't stringy like turkey meat. It just was kind of weird tasting mush. And it was the liver. It was the liver got mixed up in there. It almost ruined it for me. Almost, but I mean, the power of mom's turkey noodle soup just pulls me back in. But yeah, I don't know. It's not as much fat and flour, goop, it's sludge and giblets. It's soup. It's broth.
Yeah.
And yes. Technically, if you're splitting hairs, Ethan, it is the cooked down carcass, but mom actually picks off all the remaining meat. So it's cooked down carcass with love. So
very sweet. But
does your mom have a recipe?
I don't know. I don't know if she's got a recipe or if she just like does it. Like all I remember is that at the end of the like the whole end of the thing, you just like take a whole bag of egg noodles and just dump it right in. That's all I remember. That's all I'm usually around for, because that's when it's closest to being ready. So that's where I show up. But I don't know, mashed potatoes, stuffing. I've been on a green bean kick recently. Like Just for dinner the other night, I ate they're old cans, but 2 cans of green beans was my dinner the other night with some Cajun seasoning on it.
I mean, green beans are delicious. It's not
Yeah.
a balanced meal, but they are delicious.
It was wonderful. I mean, so, and then the turkey, actually, again, shout out to my Uncle Jeff, probably the best turkey I ever had. Mom makes a good one, but my Uncle Jeff, like, salt water and honey brined it for like 3 days.
Ooh.
And just like stuck a bunch of butter in there.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It was so good. Like, I've never had a moisture turkey. Oh, it was so good. And then the controversial opinion number 2, you guys don't care. You're going to let the big guy talk about food still. I'm going to keep going.
Go.
I don't like pies. Like,
oh my God.
apple and pumpkin pie.
What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
It's
Go
just
back to Russia.
I like strawberry rhubarb pie, and that's about it. Like, now in my defense,
blasphemy, sacrilege.
If you had Mama Root cookies your whole life, every other dessert pales in comparison.
All right, that's not a bad point.
But like, she was asking, what dessert she should bring down, and if I wanted a pie, and I threw out the Grandpa Willoughby's chocolate cake. That's kind of what we're going for. I asked for chocolate cake instead. So, but
I could fuck up some chocolate cake.
That sound good.
Also, third controversial opinion: chocolate pie is not pie at all. It's just pudding with some crackers around it.
It's still delicious.
I don't necessarily disagree with that with either of you. Yeah. Not
like
really pie,
either.
but still tastes good. Yeah.
I don't like pudding either. So
yeah. Well, pudding that makes sense because they're so you definitely have an issue
it's
with
a texture
that
thing.
Yeah, a gelatinous texture.
Yeah, and I don't like Jell-O either. So
yeah. So there you go.
It.
Yeah. So Jell-O, pudding, gravy, it's that texture.
Yeah.
More snack packs for me.
Now, but Welch's fruit snacks. Oh, I'll take that chewy gelatinous texture all day.
Yep.
When did we buy? Was it going on Collins? We bought a bunch. When was it a couple months ago?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you brought them down.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
A couple months ago, Memorial Day, 5 months ago.
6 months ago.
Almost.
Just about.
Not quite. Oh yeah, no, you're right. It is 6 months. I did math wrong. Yeah, 6 months. Because holy fuck, yeah, it's because already late November.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Colin doesn't have the soundboard, so
I just did it.
It was decent.
Well, you won't see any green beans on my plate on Thursday. That's for sure.
Any vegetables at all?
That's what mashed potatoes are for.
Oh my God.
That's a starch. It's a tuber.
He knows that. I think. Maybe not.
Yes. I do know that.
Ethan, maybe it is a texture because I never really like cranberry sauce either.
It's absolutely a texture. Yeah, 100%. You're welcome. I'm glad that I figured this out for you. This lifelong mystery.
Yeah, if Mama Root does have a recipe, I want it because I'm going to try and make someone do it on Friday for me.
Okay. I mean,
you're not going to make it yourself.
It's like a day-long investment, just like of time. Like, it takes a while.
There's a lot of people there that have time this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask her for it. I mean, Mama Root's one heck of a cook. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Hi, Mom. So, anyway.
Got the hi, Mom in early.
Yeah.
Now she can turn it off. That's good.
So what do you said you're meeting this weekend, Colin? So what's your plan? What's your tradition?
We don't really have a tradition. I don't think, but we're going to Raleigh, and that's where we'll spend Thanksgiving, hang out there a few days. I'm actually getting a booster tomorrow, so I guess
nice.
Awesome.
I'll see how I feel after that. But
I got mine a couple weeks ago. I didn't feel a thing, so
I still haven't gotten notified about mine. That's lame.
Everyone's eligible as of last Friday.
Oh, all right. I got to get in touch with my health insurance. Last time they told us when it was available. All right. Anyways.
Yeah. So I know you were a little busy with some other body parts.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
and Ethan, you heading back up to Connecticut?
Yeah, my plan is to just roll out of bed early tomorrow morning. And actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's I don't know if this will turn into a real rant, but okay. So my parents live in the Hartford, Connecticut area. I live in the DC area. Now, for those who don't know, the Eastern Seaboard, Route 95, it goes up and down the East Coast, and it's brutal. It's like a horrible fucking highway. There's always traffic. There's always accidents. It sucks. So as you can imagine, driving from DC to the Hartford area blows. You're pretty much always going to hit traffic somewhere unless you're going at like very, very off hours, like overnight, right? because you're going by Philly, you're going by Baltimore, you're going through New York City. And then Connecticut itself is actually pretty nasty too, especially Southwest Connecticut, because that's a lot of New York people also. So for this trip, I was like, you know what? It's a long drive. It's stressful, tons of traffic. Maybe I'm going to try doing like a train or a bus. And now part of this is my fault. I procrastinated. Okay. But train tickets are as expensive as plane tickets right now. What the fuck is the point? Like, isn't it?
No. It's because you procrastinated.
Okay, but still, how are you going to charge $200 one way for a fucking train ticket? That's insane. Trains should be more affordable. Trains should be more. Colin, shut the fuck up. Trains should be more affordable. This is insane.
When I costed out an Amtrak from Philly to New York City a couple weeks ago, it's $20. $20.
Yeah, Philly to New York City is way closer than DC.
Okay, yeah, but
we're talking about an extra 3 hours.
It's not 10 times as long, so you're obviously getting some extra holiday pricing in there.
I'm just saying it's bullshit. And that trains, we should be encouraging public transportation, and in order to encourage it, prices should be fucking reasonable, even for procrastinators. We're talking about like sitting on a train for 8 hours. Like, it's insane to me that you can charge that much. And then the buses, now the buses are actually pretty reasonable prices, but every bus line, like major bus line that I looked up, they had like decent ratings, some of them, but they all had enough like really bad reviews that I was like, you know what, I don't really want to fuck around with this.
Well, yeah,
which is also disappointing.
Buses are Megabus was pretty nice, but
yeah, how long? What's like the farthest you've done on Megabus?
Chicago to Cleveland.
And how many hours of like normal driving would that be if you were driving your car?
If I'm driving my car, it'd be 6 hours.
Okay. And it worked fine.
It's fine. Yeah. I used to take the Greyhound from Cleveland to Buffalo, and my parents in college would pick me up in Buffalo and drive me home. Okay. But that, even though it was like a 3.5 hour car ride, would take like 6 hours with the Greyhound.
Did it have to make a bunch of stops?
Yeah, they'd stop in like, middle of nowhere. They'd stop in Erie, and like every time we'd go to Erie, we'd get boarded by Border Patrol, which is always kind of weird.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. But they were within so many miles of the border, so they can do that. But it was always really weird. I got woken up. Well, another story. I'll tell it some other time. The one time Matt interacted with Border Patrol.
Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, buses and Megabus is hit or miss, and yeah,
and that also bums me out because again, like every other rich country in the world has like amazing state of the art public transit. Ours is like stuck in the 1950s, and that's fucking bullshit.
Well, because we're so car centric. I mean,
I know, and we shouldn't. I know, and we shouldn't be. We need to start moving away from that for the fucking environment. Like this is the point.
No, we're just gonna get electric Hummers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be too little, too late.
$125,000. Macho Man Hummer.
Oh my god! All right, this is good. I wish you got to add one of those to the soundboard too. I think, Kyle.
Yeah, I think we get a lot of good stuff from this epi so far.
Yeah, so my plan is to just roll out of bed early tomorrow morning and just fucking hit the road. So we'll see. You guys know that I am often running late. So we'll see what happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, if I aim to leave at 6 a.m., then maybe I'll leave by 7 a.m.
Toddy was shocked that we recorded when we did today, because I told her earlier, I was like, Ethan said that we could go early, but he's on Cosmo Kramer time, and it doesn't always mean that. So we'll see. And then I was like, we're going to record around 8. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I just figured it'd be nice to get it done with since I was home early. So
you can always like drive up here and like miss the DC and Baltimore traffic, and at least get 2 cities out of the way, and then just like leave tomorrow morning.
That's true. You know what? I actually never even thought about that, but that is a good idea.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll do that at this point, but that is a good idea.
No, I wouldn't want you to drive now.
Yeah. I mean, 2 hours now would be easy though. Me?
Yeah.
Well, I've lived in Miami for 2 years, and I've lived in the DC area for 2 years. So 4 years.
Can you drive?
Oh, you mean with my arm? I thought you were mocking me for like how I got my license. I was going to say,
oh, Colin, 4 years. You cut off a good rant there.
4 years of driving in Miami and DC cumulatively is equivalent to 40 years driving anywhere else because they're the fucking worst. Yes, I can drive. It's awkward. And like doing the turn signals a pain in the nuts because I like have to reach in through the wheel with my right hand and like do everything with my right hand, and long turns are annoying with just the right hand, but
just start sticking your arm out the window and doing hand signals. Your busted arm.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you can only do this. So I don't know
much.
If that works,
yeah.
So. And I don't know, Ethan, our California listeners out there might be upset with you because
Oh, sure. Add LA into the group.
I was gonna say,
yeah, top tier, like metro areas for the worst driving. Miami, DC, LA. That's probably your top 3. I mean, I'd be interested if any of our listeners have other nominees, but I don't think there's anything worse than those 3. I don't think so. Not in America, anyways. So
yeah. I'm meanwhile, like I'd get stuck in like 10 minutes of traffic in Cincinnati, be like, fuck this shit. Like, okay, I had it easy.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, boys. This is your choice. There's 3 topics
Ooh.
left for the episode. 1 is super dark.
Okay.
1 is helpful. And 1 is fun.
Are we going to try to do all 3?
Yeah.
All right, let's get super dark out of the way, would be my vote.
Matt?
I'll defer.
Matt, if you have a preference, it's all right.
Oh, I'll defer.
This is a democracy. We're egalitarian around here.
No, I defer to you.
All right, let's do super dark.
I got my what are they called?
Cat?
My service cat here, just in case, you know.
Boris.
Hi, Boris.
All right, buddy.
Super dark. Let's do it.
All right. Well, as everyone knows, shitbag Kyle Rittenberg.
Oh, Rittenhouse.
Rittenhouse, whatever. Yeah. He's not worth learning the name.
Yeah,
I can't even
enough.
get the intro right. How am I going to remember his name?
Yeah, true.
Obviously was not guilty, found not guilty on Friday for 2 murders. And what I wanted to talk about, one of the Substacks I read is from the great Kareem. And he is not just a great basketball player, obviously, but a really amazing activist. And he wrote a column today, actually, which is why I was bringing this up. I'm going to read you a few of the quotes that stood out. Ethan, I'm sure you're the one that could probably speak the most to this out of the 3 of us, but we can take this whatever direction. But I thought these were really interesting points that Kareem made. The first one is, he said, people of color are worried about vigilantes who they think they've just been issued a 007 license to kill, roaming the streets looking for targets darker than beige. And then he said, the fact that we may not like why Rittenhouse was in Kenosha, or that the police were clearly prejudiced in supporting him as he wandered the streets with a loaded rifle, or that he's become a poster boy for white supremacists and right-wing pundits, doesn't justify conviction if the case presented in court doesn't merit it. And then he said, over 150 years after the end of slavery, and Black people are facing legislation in nearly half the states to make it more difficult for them to vote, while rampant gerrymandering ensures that when they do vote, the effect of their votes will be diluted. And then this last one, it's a little long, so bear with me, but he says there are good reasons to fear vigilantes. Vigilantism, is that how you say it?
I think it's vigilantism.
Yeah, vigilantism has been so romanticized in our culture that we can't really be surprised when some impressionable kid wants to be a superhero. From Spider-Man to Batman, the Marvel and DC universes are almost entirely vigilantes. Colorful costumes and angsty origin stories don't change that. Our heroes are rule breakers who think they know what's best for people more than the judicial system or elected officials. That's what made Trump appealing to so many. He was a softcore vigilante who thought he knew better than everyone else. He didn't, and the economy was damaged, civil rights were repressed, and thousands of people died unnecessarily as a result. Ironically, the vigilante and the villain live in the same code that they should be permitted to act outside the law because they alone know what is best. While that makes for entertaining fictional stories, in real life, it creates chaos and injustice, and we can't and won't tolerate it.
Damn. Nice.
Yeah, it was it's a really, subscribe to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Subscribe to his Substack if you're not. He has a free one as well, just like most of the big writers. But really got me thinking. And that last one, with the Spider-Man Batman thing, like that's what really got me, because like I love Batman. Like,
yeah, you always have. Yep.
Always have. Yeah. And I always thought he was doing the right thing. acting in the way that he has. But like when you read it that way, and you read and you see like what people in our country are doing, there, and that's why he says, makes for good fictional stories. Like you can paint that picture for Batman, for Bruce Wayne, in a good light, where you can't do it for a fucking 17-year-old whose mother also should probably be charged, in this whole thing, by the way. Thanks to Dalvin, my neighbor Dalvin, for that little nugget. Willingly drove her son with his rifle, 17-year-old son, to this place of protest or whatever the fuck was going on there. And I just don't know how it gets any better. It's just really sad though. And I think all of those things are true. I know they're just opinion from one person, one black person at that, but I think they're true. I think it's scary. And I just don't know how it gets fixed. Like I honestly don't know that we ever see it truly fixed in our lifetime, and that's really sad.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree with everything you're saying. I think everything, all the quotes that you shared from his piece, to me are just like simple common knowledge at this point. Now I know that there are plenty of people who are going to argue with them or disagree with them. I follow a lot of activist pages and organizations on social media, and all of those things all of those quotes you read, that's nothing new. That's the same type of shit that has been talked about and written about since Trump got elected. I mean, right? Like all of that shit has been in play since then, and really before, if we're being honest, right? The one thing that we have to kind of remember is that Trump is the symptom. He's not the cause. Right. He is a symptom of decades of really, really damaging right-wing propaganda. And that's what happens. You get that eventually, right? Now, in terms of like the other stuff Abdul-Jabbar's talking about, I'm not gonna talk too much about the details of the case because I don't know every detail of the case, and I also have enough lawyers in my family and among my friends to know that law is really, really difficult. We like to think that law is black and white, and it's not. It is like the biggest shades of gray you can imagine. I'll tell a really quick story about that. One of my uncles was a practicing lawyer for a long time, and he didn't really like it, but it was a good job. The thing that made him quit, he was on a conference call with two other people that he was working on a case with. And those other two people argued for a half an hour straight. Now he might be exaggerating, but they argued for a long time. And their argument was about this, the wording in something that they were writing, a document. So they were going to either write "to the best of my knowledge" or "to the best of my actual knowledge." That was the argument. They argued about whether to choose one of those two sentences, and they argued endlessly about it. Literally the only difference is the word actual, okay? I'm not going to go into all of that, but the point being that if I think I'm pedantic, lawyers are in a whole other fucking world. So like the law stuff, I think it's bullshit. We know enough about this judge. He was a fucking clown. We know that the jury was 11 white people in Wisconsin. Like we clearly are not trying hard to actually have a jury be truly representative. So I think that's all bullshit. I think it's a sham. I think his crocodile tears are fucking disgusting. There's pictures of him after the shootings with Proud Boys holding up the white power symbol and wearing a shirt that says "free as fuck." He's a piece of shit. Okay. Yeah. So let's be like clear about that and just lay that out.
Yeah. And I don't care that he's only 18 years old.
No, I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I don't give a fuck, dude. Yeah. When you're 18, you're an adult. You can vote. You can go to war. Like, you can.
I get he was 17 when it all happened, but I mean,
even then, there's not that big of a difference between 17 and 18. We're talking about pretty arbitrary numbers, you know? So in terms of like the larger issue that you're talking about with like vigilantism and the divide in this country, I mean, I certainly don't think that, I think we're in a horrible place. I think you're right that we probably won't see any good solutions in our lifetime. I think that the biggest issue facing us is the working class is continuously divided and has been for decades and decades, and that's on purpose. We are made to blame other members of the working class, whether we are being divided by religion, by sexuality, by sexual identity, by race, all of these things. We are made to be divided by that. Meanwhile, all of your capitalists, all of your ruling class, all of your elites, and this includes Democrats, by the way, Republicans and Democrats alike, okay? They're all fucking corporate, corporate pigs, okay? They all are just taking money and they're all just doing lip service. They're all pieces of shit. What we need to do is the working class needs to truly unify and realize that they are the bad guys, okay? All of those rich motherfuckers who are ruling everything, they are the people you need to be angry at. You don't need to be angry at the black or brown woman who is on welfare trying to raise her kid. You don't need to be mad at your Hispanic people who are going and working the farm jobs. You wouldn't be working those fucking farm jobs anyway, so shut the fuck up. Like, it's just insane. Like, the propaganda has been so effective, and I think it's so deeply ingrained in so many people that I don't know how you get to that point. I don't know how you get to a point where the working class actually realizes this and unites. I think that the internet could help, but I also think that it will take a long time. So I don't know.
So
it's all devastating.
Before you get in, what do you think about, again, going back to the mom who willingly drove her son? So we just talked about, yes, there's not a huge difference between age 17 and 18, but what we can say, being 32-year-old men, is that when you're 17, 18 years old, while yes, you can make choices for yourself, a lot of what you're making choices on is influenced by the adults who raised you. And you're still not fully formed. Your brain is still not fully formed and everything. And so, like, a slight part of me can see where this kid was set up for failure. And so that just has me, again, like, well, how is the mom getting off on this without any charges? Like, how? I don't understand that part. Like, does that stand out? Am I overlooking that too much or overthinking that too much, I guess?
No, I think that's a fair point. I don't know enough about like what the laws are, over in those states with all of that. But clearly the laws aren't bad enough for her to get charged, or bad enough. Clearly the laws aren't there. Clearly the laws are not there in enough specificity. Defined enough to charge her. I think you're totally right. I mean, we all, of course, are products of our environment and our upbringing, and we're super influenced by our parents and everything, no doubt. There's no excuse on either of their ends to bring an assault rifle. I mean, we're not talking about a regular rifle. We're not talking about a hunting rifle. We're talking about an AR-15, okay? Like, look at it. It's terrifying. It's a war weapon, okay?
That's what I just can't imagine my mother ever willingly driving me with an assault rifle in the car. It's just...
But people have such a different upbringing. I can actually speak to this from experience because you guys both know that on my father's side of the family, they are from rural upstate New York. And in rural areas, even in a blue state like New York State, which, by the way, for those who don't know, New York is only blue because of New York City, really. Most of the state is pretty fucking red. Now, rural New York State, just as much as rural Alabama or rural Wisconsin, it is a totally different way of life, a totally different worldview. So for them, they don't look at guns the way that we do. They look at guns as just totally normal and natural and part of life, and you know how to use it safely, and you got to also be tough and powerful because we're Americans and we stick up for ourselves and self-defense and blah, blah, blah. And so I think it's just a totally different idea. Like, they would probably be just as shocked by you saying that you can't imagine your mom doing that with you. They probably would think that that's crazy. Like it's literally just the complete opposite end of the spectrum. That's their experience. That's their worldview. It's just totally different.
Yeah.
Matt, are you going to say anything? You are?
I'm jumping in. Yeah. So from what I've gleaned from people smarter than me who followed the case closer, the law was decided correctly. Now, I'm not saying I agree with it. What I'm saying is that based on what was the evidence presented, the law was decided correctly, meaning that he felt afraid for his life and was defending himself, and that justified using lethal force. Now, I'd like to talk to people more about it because I don't know if I've got a complete understanding of how the case played out. You are right. There's a lot of inconsistencies or things that were done in the trial that I think should have been done differently. But I don't have all the details. There were some interesting little tidbits there. There was a lot of focus on whether or not zooming, the pinch to zoom, was considered altering a video versus just zooming in on a video. That was, I thought, kind of bass backwards.
That's the pedantry thing I'm talking about with lawyers. Yeah.
There was the inability to call the people who were shot victims. They were called protesters, but not victims. The people who were killed.
Yeah.
That was the judge right away,
Yeah.
setting the tone for that, right?
And there was
Fucking Grace.
there was video that was purportedly Rittenhouse from a couple weeks before the assault event, whatever you want to call it, where he was videoed in a car with a friend of his, videotaping some people who were outside and watching people shoplift, like a Walgreens or something, and someone on camera, and this was the contentious part, someone on camera with a voice that sounded remarkably like Kyle Rittenhouse has said, if I had my AR-15, I would like shoot those motherfuckers or something like that. Something like that. Please, that's not the actual quote, but he says, if I had my AR, I would shoot them. So, there's a lot out there. I'd like to look at it more myself, but to look at the more overarching kind of things we're looking at here, I'm gonna bring up 3 different things I would encourage people to check out. 3 different podcasts. Number one is a Radiolab podcast spinoff called More Perfect, which is about the Supreme Court cases that have shaped the judicial system in this country. There's one particular about it's called the Batson rule, or the Batson case, which essentially, Ethan, when you're talking about like white people on the jury, it's the exemption, I believe, that allows you to get rid of jurors. Like if you think they're going to be prejudiced, you can say you can't make it based on race, but you don't have to justify what it could be like. So I could say, if I get rid of 6 jurors and that are all black, as long as I say that it's not about race, it's something about something else, you can get away with it, which is kind of interesting. I would really highly recommend checking that out. The episode's called Object Anyway, or Object Anyway, on More Perfect.
Okay.
I'd also suggest checking out the Embedded series. That's by Kelly McEvers on NPR. She's does a lot of different things, but Embedded specifically does deep dives in different news topics. I'm kind of curious to see what they do next. But they did a deep dive on, I guess what got me hooked, for a pretty poor analogy, was they did a deep dive on opioid abuse in Southern Indiana right as I was moving to that area of the country. So I wanted to be, I was living among those people. I was hiring those people. I was hiring people in that area. I wanted to learn more about what they're going through. So I listened to that. But they did a deep dive into different police-involved shootings and the perspectives of both victims, police, and the training that are received. And so that's an interesting one. Again, that kind of dives toward if you feel threatened for your life, lethal force is justified. Now, again, that's the police officer, not with a civilian with a rifle. So again, but that's where that kind of mentality comes in, and that's where you see in a lot of stand your ground states, where if you're in a stand your ground state, all you need to say is, I felt threatened for my life. That's all you need to say, and that is your hook. That is your get out of jail free card to use lethal force. And there are groups out there who coach people, where you can literally go through coaching sessions on what to do if you use lethal force. And again, to Ethan's point earlier, that's considered, if you're a civilian and use lethal force, and that's considered normal. That's part of what they do, is part of learning about guns. And to get to guns for the third one, I recommend listening to the whole series. It's called No Compromises, and it's about the gun debate and the kind of, it's about the fringes of the pro-gun movement now in the country. If you think the NPR is the bad guy,
NRA.
It's not. Or NRA, the NPR, yeah, it's done by NPR.
Okay.
It's the NRA is actually made to look kind of foolish in the podcast series, and it's done by 2 reporters for NPR. That one of the guys is an ex-Marine who shoots every weekend and is a huge gun enthusiast, and he's going in and diving into the kind of the origins of a family that's really driving the extreme no compromise gun movement in the country, and kind of what's behind their motivations and how they view, from their perspective, how they view weapons in America. So I'd say those are, I'll let you guys form your own opinions on those. I thought they were all very interesting. Ethan, my mom's side of the family, is also from rural upstate New York. And plenty of hunters in the family, plenty of people who are much more comfortable around firearms than I am. And it's more natural. It's something that they go out to do recreationally. And, it's something that I trust them to be, to make good choices with those. And I think they do, but, it's still kind of an odd, I don't know. It's a completely different, like you said, other end of the spectrum in terms of worldview and not worldview, but just understanding or comfortable or approach or view of weapons, and to a larger extent, kind of society. I don't know. I veered towards guns there, but I do think all three. Colin started originally talking about vigilantism. It is romanticized. It's billion-dollar blockbusters out there.
There's a quote that I'm looking for. I'll tell you guys if I find it. That speaks really, really well to this. Sorry to interrupt, Matt. Continue.
But I love Batman too. It works because he's a billionaire with a heart of gold. He's got integrity. He's
billionaire with integrity is an oxymoron.
Let me finish my damn sentence. That's
okay,
what I was getting at. That's fictional. You rely the whole pivot of the whole story is that he's making the right choice. And is he does that really exist? It's noble in the movie, but how often does it actually happen?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Trevor Bauer hopped on the Rittenhouse train today.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was posting, oh, maybe you shouldn't decide cases before you hear all the facts. You know what, Trevor Bauer?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Trevor Bauer.
Tie it back down to sports.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were ever gonna say his name on the show.
I'm sorry. You can edit it out if you want. We can do like a Colbert and just never say the former president's name ever again. He's got new nicknames for him every night. It's great.
Colbert's a legend. That's for sure. Yeah.
You find your quote, Ethan?
No, I'm still looking for it. It's so good. It speaks so well to this. And I don't want to start talking about it because I know I'll butcher it. I won't say it as well as this writer. The writer who wrote it, if I'm remembering correctly, she's a really great writer. But basically, it's speaking to the vigilante idea, and also the vigilante idea. It's deeper than that in this country. It comes from the whole idea of rugged individualism and individual liberty being placed above everything else, being valued above everything else. And I maybe have talked about this on the pod. I've definitely talked with you guys about this, maybe on the pod. But we're like the only rich country in the world that values individual liberty over the collective good. That's why we still have 300 million guns in the streets, and every time we go into a grocery store or a sporting event or a concert or an elementary school, we might get shot and murdered. We're the only rich country in the world where that happens. That's because we value individual liberty above the collective good. Now, there's an amazing quote about that. This is old, right? This is deeply ingrained in our society because of 1700s life, right? Back then, you kind of had to be because there weren't that many people and it just wasn't nearly as densely populated, blah, 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 blah. A totally different world. We should have grown out of it. We should have grown out of it a long time ago. Same as religion and patriotism. These are all infantile fucking ideas, and we should have grown out of them centuries ago. It's not going to happen anytime soon, so that is what it is. But it comes from that, the vigilante thing. It comes from this idea in America where it's like we idolize like people like, to use an actor, John Wayne, or to use real people like Davy Crockett and these kinds of types or whatever. We idolize these people who they go out and they take things into their own hands. They get their gun and they go and they do their thing and they save the day or whatever. And I think that that's just like really, really dangerous and harmful. I mean, we have seen the result of that, many, many times through our history, right? This is not new. So the quote speaks really, really well to that, but that is essentially, that's the idea. So.
To all our religious listeners, Ethan is an atheist, if you don't know that already. So
yeah, yeah, maybe I haven't said that explicitly, but yeah, that's funny. Anyways.
And the whole like vigilante thing is, what makes Batman so compelling is that like he does have the moral compass of someone who is a good person. Like he gets dangerously close, like multiple times throughout the series of kind of crossing that line. And maybe even some people would argue that he crosses the line. But like he's never out there intending to kill people, first off. that's a huge thing right there.
Yep.
He's like totally against guns. Okay. Whereas like what you were saying, Ethan, I mean, this is nothing new for this country. Just John Wilkes Booth is like a classic example of someone who thought he was being a hero by assassinating Lincoln.
Yeah.
Like, and instead put the country like back, I don't know, 100 years, 150 years. Like, what did Reconstruction, actually end up doing?
Well, Colin, if it was 150 years, then it would have been before the country existed. So
you mean 150 years from now?
No. Oh, I thought you were saying he meant that it was a setback from 150 years back from 1860s. So.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant from now.
Murdering Abraham Lincoln set the country back to the 1710s. Like, well, we didn't exist then.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Well, we did as colonies.
Well, yeah, the country was only like 75 at that point, though.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, that is where like these people on January 6th, and everything, like, they have these messed up visions about like they're doing good, whereas like a vigilante in Batman, like if you truly study Batman compared to what some other vigilantes say they're doing, like it's just night and day. So like even if you're romanticizing, and even if it's a fictional thing, like I don't know.
But didn't the Affleck Batman kill people though? Didn't he like shoot people or something?
I thought you said Affleck, like the insurance.
No, Ben Affleck.
Affleck.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah, he shoots people in that. He kills people. He's got guns.
Does he?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw those ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not Christian Bale. It's not, what's to do? I'm not wearing hockey pants or whatever. Like,
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Another clip for the soundboard.
Hell yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's get to your helpful, your happy couch.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
we spent enough time there. Sorry, that was my fault. I, rambled on.
Well, shockingly, we went long with the topic.
Yeah.
I know everyone's super shocked. So let's do the helpful one. I'm gonna call it an executive shot here. Let's do the helpful one, and then we'll save the fun one for another time. Because it's not super timely. We don't need to do it right away, but we're starting to run long. So the helpful one. This is actually going to be directed towards Mr. Ertz. So okay. I was listening to a podcast today. So all of these things just popped up today. And one of my favorite podcasters was talking to this former CEO of Pepsi, and he asked her what was the worst career advice. Yeah, what was the worst career advice that she ever got? And they went on and everything. But it made me think, about what's some of the worst advice I've ever gotten. And I've said this before to people on my other podcasts a number of times. I don't know if it's ever been said on this podcast, but some of the worst advice I got was a high school guidance counselor telling me to avoid going into sports for a profession because I loved it so much and I would burn myself out, blah, 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 and everything. And I believed it. Like, again, like being a 17-year-old impressionable, young dude, like I was like, all right. I was writing for the school newspaper at the time. I was a sports editor. Like I went into college initially, like thinking I did want to do journalism, but that thought always rested in the back of my mind. I was like, I can't do it. And then I ended up going criminal justice, political science is what I ended up graduating with. Obviously got farther and farther away from sports. And as soon as I graduated, I was just lost, like looking for sports the whole time. And it made me think of you, Ethan, as someone who has followed their passion, pretty much your entire life to this point. I know it hasn't always been easy, but like whether or not you agree that that's terrible advice that I got when when I was in high school, it just made me wonder, like, what's the journey been like for you? Like, is it worth it to like pursue something you're so passionate about? Like, are you happy? Do you like love what you do? Are there things that you wish you did differently? Like, I just thought you would be a really interesting person to have perspective on this.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's an amazing question. And I definitely have perspective on this. I have thought about this and talked about this many, many times over the years. Because as you can imagine, this exact idea is hugely prevalent in music as well, right? Music and sports both, I think, are can be very analogous in some ways in terms of the level of passion that people have for it and wanting to make a living out of it, but also they are brutally competitive fields. So yes, I have thought a lot about this. I think what your guidance counselor said to you, I think is valid. That said, it's hard. It's hard when you're 17. So like for me, I knew that going into music performance, right? I knew that that was not a practical idea, like the furthest thing from it. Okay. I knew that. But you guys know that my passion for music is like, it's all consuming. And so I just couldn't, I never truly envisioned myself doing anything else. I never imagined it. I just always knew I'm going to be in music in some capacity, right? That said, the burnout thing is totally real. I have dealt with it significantly, and pretty much I would say, God, it's got to be a high percentage of my friends and colleagues in music, especially the ones who have been performers at one point or another. Which, for those who don't know, I was a freelance performer for much of my 20s. Now I have a stable teaching job, which in a lot of ways is better. The stability is better. But the burnout is real and it's common. It happens all the time. And I think what it comes down to is like, it has to be that situation like I'm talking about where you just can't imagine yourself doing something else. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, and this just is a kind of just a bummer in your case, Colin, is when you are 17 and a guidance counselor is talking to you, that you are impressionable and you are probably going to take what they say seriously. Now, in my case, I had a private trumpet teacher who had very, very strong opinions, and I had been studying with him for like 5 years. So like, if a guidance counselor said something to me about going into music, I'd go and talk to him and he'd be like, yeah, fuck that person. Forget about them. This is what you need to know. And because he was very, very blunt and honest. So like, if I was not cut out for it, he would have told me. Guidance counselors, what bothers me about this, guidance counselors don't actually know us. They never get to know us as people. This guidance counselor, was it a she or he?
It was a she. It was probably like the only time I ever talked to her.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't know anything about you. Yeah. And so that kind of bothers me. I don't think it's like the worst advice. Well, I don't know. I get what she's saying. I don't think it's the worst advice ever, but I do think that if you have a passion that is that strong, it's worth risking the burnout. Would be my thought. It can be tragic. Don't get me wrong. The bad side of things is that the burnout gets you and you end up leaving the field. And then that super, super powerful love and passion that you had all your life is gone. That's a true tragedy. That would be so awful. In my case, I'm not doing what I expected to do, but I am happy. And every single day I wake up and I'm like, oh, all right, I'm going to like practice instruments and talk to kids about music. Like, this is fucking awesome. Like I generally teach a lesson every single day. I even teach a couple on weekends, and it's flexible, but like I never dread work. If I had ended up when I was in high school, if I had said to myself, oh, I'm going to be practical and I'm going to find something that's not music, there'd be plenty of days where I'd be dreading work. And there would be plenty of days where I would be wishing I should have just gone after music. I should have tried, at least given it the effort. And if I failed, I failed. Right. Really fascinating stuff though. I'm glad you thought of bringing that up. I guess, I don't know if my thoughts were that organized. I guess her advice to me is not invalid. I think it's valid. I just don't like that it's coming from a guidance counselor that doesn't know you. But the burnout thing is legit, for sure. So
what about, sorry, Matt, I'll let you go in a second, but what about, so you said like it gets you and like you end up leaving, which I guess could happen to you.
Yeah, it could.
Like, yeah. How are you satisfied or fulfilled even, I guess, just knowing that, like, I don't know, you probably have to work another 30 years regardless of what you're doing. is it going to be in music? Like, what if it's not? Then what do you do? You know,
Right.
like that's just something that I wonder too. Like, you know, because like your undying love for music is like my buddy Bruce, and like obviously he became mainstream and is pretty successful.
Yeah,
Um,
he's he's pretty successful.
but it doesn't always work out that way, you know. And yeah, I know you would love to be in your 70s doing what Bruce is doing and hanging out with Obama and
Yeah,
all
podcasting with
this,
them.
yeah, podcasting with
Right.
them and
Yeah.
all this fun stuff. But getting ready to tour next year. But it just I don't know, like that part of me wonders too, like, when is it ever enough? Like, when are you satisfied with?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, and I think that answer is different for everybody. So for me, when I was younger, and you guys know this, when I was younger, like as a teenager and in my early 20s, I was pretty myopic about wanting to be an orchestral trumpet player. That that had been what my training had been, and my teaching had been emphasized in that. That was like my biggest passion. But what I have found as I've gotten older and I've done various grad degrees and studied different areas of music, I have found that for me, my love of music is not that narrow. And I have found that I can be and am happy not doing that. There are days where I miss playing with orchestras and I kind of want to, get back into shape and go do that. But I also know at this point that I love so many facets of music. You guys know that I'm very, very obsessed with folk music, specifically American folk music, but folk music of all kinds. I think it's just the best. Music is a really, really big world. And so for me, I could see the teaching job eventually that I have now. I could see that eventually getting tiresome after enough time, maybe. But in that case, I would just find something else to do, I think, within the music field. By that point, my credentials would be enough that I think I would be okay to do some sort of transition to a different part of the music world. There is part of me that would want to be more of a full-time performer. That is the one thing, maybe, to your question, that is not super fulfilled. And in terms of like, is it enough? That's the one area where it's probably not enough. I mean, I did get to do, Jeremy talked about how he's gotten to live his dreams when he was on our show, right? He's gone on tour with his band and all of this. And in a certain sense, I have too. I've gotten to play with my hometown professional orchestra, many, many concerts, my favorite pieces ever with my teacher, like in the same section as my teacher, like that's really cool. But I never did the things that I expected to do. And I don't know that I will do them, from this point forward. So there always is that kind of little voice in the back of your head, right? That's like, you maybe you could have done this if you had been smarter or worked harder. And that's especially true in my case, because I didn't work as hard as I should have, and I procrastinated. And of course, because I am who I am. So it's hard, but I think it's different for everybody. For me, I feel good about it. And I think, barring some crazy economic catastrophe, I think that my current living is pretty stable. Northern Virginia is a wealthy area, and private lessons are like chump change to them. So even with a downturn in the economy, I think most of my families would still be fine. So I don't know. I don't know if does that kind of answer what you were getting at? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
There's nothing chumpy about you, Ethan.
Chumpy?
You said chump change. You're not.
Oh, chump change, chumpy.
In defense of guidance counselors, which I mean, I have my own criticisms of mine. My guidance counselor went on sabbatical the semester I was applying to colleges, so I had someone who really didn't know me writing my recommendations. Like had known me for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's insane.
And
that's really stupid.
We can go into that later, but that was one of my gripes about that process. But that's ancient history. But their job is to just try and bridge the gap between high school and college. They're trying to find good placements for people, and I think they're going to err towards conservative advice, because if they told everyone to pursue sports, they're going to get a lot of people who do end up in trouble. Yeah. But Colin, you're not everyone. Ethan, you're not everyone with your passions about these things. And you both have been hustling for years now to make it work. Colin, you're now on a professional podcast network. You've been doing Talent 409 for what, 10, 12 years? Right?
Not quite that long.
Okay, still a long time. Ethan, you've been, like you said, you've been you've gigged, you've worked in libraries, you've worked at bookstores, you've played with professional orchestras, you've taught, like you've been,
Served, musical theater, weddings, holidays.
yeah, you know,
I mean, that's all part of gigging.
holidays at churches, playing that giant church in Syracuse
Which
every
is,
year.
yeah, a wonderful place to play.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's that passion coming through, and that's where, unfortunately, it is tough that a guidance counselor with their snapshot of you
Yeah.
doesn't get that. Now, think about it this way. Liverpool, our graduating class is what, 600 people ish. That's on the high side.
635.
And we had what, 6 guidance counselors?
Is that right? I don't remember.
6 or 10. Let's say if it's 10, then they had 60 kids each. If it's 6, then they had 100 kids each.
Yeah, which is bonkers.
Per year. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Now let's say 50% of those kids go to college. Which I don't know if that's high or low for Liverpool back in 2007, but I feel like that might be an average. That's a lot, and they're trying to manage everyone's application, and they're trying to get everyone out there. But yeah, I do think it lends itself to poor advice or not the best, advocacy for you. So
Yeah.
now I have kind of the opposite of experience. I took like a calculating approach to everything, and I can't. I am well off financially, and I've got a job that I'm good at, and I'm continuing to kind of progress and be successful there. But my joke was, if you told high school Matt that I'd do light bulbs and dirt, like what I don't, and I can't even go back then and point to what I was gonna, what I thought I was gonna do. I just thought I was gonna rule the world back then. So at one point I thought I was gonna be a lawyer. At one point I thought I really liked history. At one point I thought I was gonna be a politician. It turns out that I settled in engineering because I like problem solving and I was good at chemistry, which, spoiler alert, if you're a chemical engineer, you don't really know a lot of chemistry, guys. If you like chemistry, go into material science or polymer engineering, just as a heads up to any prospective college students out there listening to the cutting edge podcasts, to Jocks A Schlub. But yeah, and so I think I've got the opposite, where I've taken such a rigid look at it, and I feel like this is kind of extreme, but like a passionless look at it. Like, I am passionate about what I do because I want to be successful at whatever I do. And I'm enthusiastic about it because I want to get better, and I want to improve, and I want to be good, and I want my team to be successful, and I want my company to be successful. But damn it, dirt, like dirt. Now, Scott's growing media is great, and it's the best in the market, and we have a great product, and I can tell you all about it, and I can get excited about it and tell you why you should buy our product and why we're the best company out there, and our market share shows that. But still, dirt, light bulbs. So we've talked about this before, and Colin, you're one of the biggest champions. But if I could go back and do things differently, I would open a brewery. Now I rationalize myself out of that based on market conditions and saturation and all that stuff, but it's different. I have so much respect for you guys because that passion still is there, and you guys are you're still hustling all the time, and Colin, your wife too. Like, damn it, all this stuff that Toddy does. Shout out for a Toddy there. Add another shout out to the Toddy shout out meter.
She will tally that.
I know. That's why she said she was complaining the other day. So but I can also give a shout out to the Landrys, and a shout out to I got to give a shout out to the Vicks in Cleveland. If you guys are listening in Cleveland, Kevin and Olivia, and Acadia, hello, nice to talk to you guys. Same with I won't keep giving them out. I gotta protect them. But anyway, it's, I can't say that I wake up every day, Ethan, and don't dread going to work. I spent 4 hours today looking at sales and budget projections for soil and mulch in the Northeast Philadelphia area market. Like,
yeah, Jesus.
But I also spent 2 hours with a couple team members trying to work on a couple really difficult technical problems and see how we could fix that. So I'm talking a lot now.
It's good, dude. That was all great, and it was
Yeah.
good to get a different perspective from
Yeah.
mine. So that's
Yeah.
really great. Yeah.
And I think what it just made me think of, and this is what we should do more of in the long dark off season that will officially start the next time we record, with the CBA expiring.
Oh, you brought it up again.
We've been teasing it long enough. We're a week away. It's gonna happen.
Oh god.
What I was gonna say though is that like part of the reason that the three of us are such good friends is because of our love for sports, specifically the Yankees. But I think one of the other reasons that we just unlocked, like without knowing it, is like we all like are super passionate about like caring about the right things. Like we all go about it in different ways, and like we all have our own opinions, and we rib on each other all the time, and it's a lot of fun. But like I respect both of you just as much as Matt was saying he respects, both of, Ethan and me and everything. And like, there are things that I'm always like, oh wait, I wish I could be more like focused like Matt. And then I also am always like, I wish I could just be more carefree like Ethan.
Carefree.
And so
I don't know how many people would describe me as carefree. I mean, my career choice certainly, shows a certain relaxation, but in the rest of my life, maybe not so much carefree. Anyways.
Well, the point is, I think, we've talked about, trying to get a little bit more personal, for lack of a better word, on the podcast, and like talk about ourselves more. And I think like the more people know about us, like the more they could relate to, our opinions and the way that we go about things, and understand us more when we are just ranting, stupid nonsense about the Yankees in the middle of January, in the middle of a 3-month lockout, whatever it's going to be. So
3 months, I'd take 3 months.
I would take 3-month lockout. That would mean late April start, maybe, not too much of the season. Right. But anyway, it just made me think like maybe we should talk about more topics that like, relate to the three of us on a day-to-day basis, and tie them in somehow.
I'm okay with that. That goes under the nonsense umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Could be under whatever under umbrella you want.
Yeah, just wait and say, because Colin's gonna fuck up the slogan enough times. We're gonna there'll be a new
one out of it.
Yeah, there's gonna be a new one that's gonna have a word that'll be even better for that. So yeah.
Hey, I got one more topic. It's very quick though. It's very quick. It's just a love letter to my friends in Cleveland, specifically my Cleveland sports fans. So the Indians are no longer. Now they are officially the Guardians, and they open the shop. They have the merchandise, and I don't know. You guys, Colin knows because he laughed. Ethan, did you see within 2 hours of them opening the new team shop at the stadium, the new Guardians logo sign fell down and shattered?
Amazing.
But I've got I already have 3 different friends referring to it as the sign, and just lining it up to like the drive and the fumble or whatever, and the decision, and stop with the stop. Once you call it the sign,
the Ohio State University,
you're making it a thing, and you're never gonna. You're like, it's almost like you want it to be a thing because you want
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, you want another like burden that you can carry around your neck. You can say, yeah, we're Cleveland, and even the sign. Like, no, don't. Okay, someone forgot a bolt and it fell and broke. Don't like make it a thing and then like predetermine an omen that's going to follow you. Like 400 years from now, when you have one on the championship, you're going to say, well, it's because of the sign. Like, no, you could just have made it a footnote and had it just be a sign that broke one day, and you didn't call it the sign, and everyone forgets about it. But now that everyone's referring to it as a thing already, it's going to stay around forever. And you just added another. Come on, like, you're doing great things, Cleveland, but you don't need another burden on your back. Come on.
I think it's pretty funny.
Please, Cleveland, like, give yourself a break. You're a great city. You're a great city.
I love when Cleveland Matt comes out.
I know, really. Cleveland Matt is like such a big teddy bear.
It was a good 10 years. I missed the hell out of that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ethan, any parting shots before we go?
No, I don't think so. I hope everybody has a really great Thanksgiving and relaxes and has great time with family and friends.
Wow. was unexpected.
Right? You want me to say something mean before we log off?
If
I
you
got
want,
something.
Should I say something nasty?
if you want.
No, I won't. Sasquatch, Matt, what were you going to say?
Merry Chrysler, everyone. Have
Oh,
a
Merry
great,
Chrysler.
Have a great Christmas or a great Thanksgiving and Merry Chrysler.
Yeah, Merry
everyone.
Chrysler. We should. Colin had a typo in our text thread earlier. He meant to say Merry Christmas and he said Merry Chrysler. So we're just going to say that forever from now
It's
on.
not. It's not a typo. Oh my.
Whatever.
God.
Autocorrect. Whatever,
no, it's
dude.
not an autocorrect. Have you?
So you wrote
never seen
Chrysler on
the
purpose?
video? Oh my god.
Oh wait, it's a reference. I thought it was just you being
It's
dumb.
a
I thought-
reference, man. What are we? We're out of the loop, Ethan.
Wow, I will show you when we're off.
Oh wait, neither of us knew. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just me. I thought it was just a really
Why do you
silly
think you were able to
autocorrect.
find a GIF, Matt?
Because autocorrect.
No,
is,
it's a
is
real thing.
universal.
It's a real thing.
Real thing.
Oh boy.
All right, well then we have to explain this on the next episode. This is a real cliffhanger for the listeners. You're gonna be
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck is Merry?" Actually, they have Google, so they can figure it out.
Yeah,
All right,
I'm
yep.
sure everyone else has heard it.
Uh huh.
But
All right,
yeah,
there's Sasquatch. Okay,
Saquon's back, baby.
T minus 5 minutes until he injures himself again.
yep.